Times article entitled United States of Paranoia by Mike McFate. As I read and reread this article in preparation for the speech, I noticed several aspects to the story that need to be mentioned. First of all, in articles such as this, the journalist usually maintains a neutral perspective so that the reader can reach his own conclusions. However, in this case, there was no pretense of neutrality. The author expressed bias from the start, using the word paranoia in the title, and challenging Timothy Trespass's sanity in the first paragraph, because Timothy felt he was being stalked by dozens of people rather than just one. The rest of the article was so venomous as to imply that TIs should not even be walking around free in society. In his zeal to label all TIs as delusional, what the author does not take into account is the fact that truly schizophrenic people could not organize themselves into groups, or create websites, or have conferences, or hold jobs, or drive cars, or raise families, or create films. True schizophrenics could not explain their hallucinations scientifically, or present their cases in a court of law. Yet our group members actively do all of the above quite regularly. Obviously, the author needed to look deeper to obtain the real story. It seems that with all the interviews that he did, he overlooked mounds of research and historical data to reach the erroneous conclusion that TIs are mental cases. There was the first-hand research experience and books of Dr. Robert Duncan. There was the research and book of experiments by Dr. Jose investigator Dave Lawson, who discovered and joined with various stalking groups for 12 years and wrote about his experiences in a book entitled Terrorist Stalking in America. There's also the experiences, research, and books of physician and author Dr. John Hall. These are all credible sources who have dealt with this issue for a number of years, while what was highlighted was the perspective of psychiatrists who only gave glib diagnoses for a category of people they've not yet met. The author seems also to begrudge that there are professionals such as doctors, lawyers, engineers, authors, and artists in our midst, which should lend credibility to our declarations of sound mind. Fortunately, Mr. McFate did state that the vast majority of TIs were nonviolent, as he led into describing the actions of Alan Alexis and Myron May, both of whom were executed by police as a result of their shooting innocent victims. However, at the same time, he implied that due to TIs being delusional, that they would be more prone to act on violent thoughts than the general population, thus placing the community at more risk of persecution. There are many reports nowadays of new technologies emerging that have to do with mind control research at several universities around the country. UCLA in Irvine, California is developing a voice of God weapon, a device that would project the human voice into a person's mind. The Helen Wills Neuroscience Institute at UC Berkeley is working on decoding and verbalizing thoughts via brainwave analysis. The University of Washington's Institute of Learning and Brain Science is working on a number of mind control initiatives, including remote body manipulation and brain-to-brain thought communication. And Duke University in North Carolina is working on hive-minding projects with rodents and, one day, people. With all of these mind control projects in development, news of which is made public, why has it been so difficult for some people to believe that mind control technologies now exist and that we should be concerned about their proliferation? It is disturbing that the New York Times, for whatever reasons, is so vehemently opposed to TI, it is considered the nation's premier newspaper and has historically been the source of major news stories in the past regarding revelations of government wrongdoing, such as Daniel Ellsberg and the Pentagon Papers of 1971, the December 1974 revelations of CIA illegal domestic activities, which led to the Church Committee congressional investigations, and discovery of MKUltra, the CIA's mind control program. And more recently, the NSA warrantless surveillance revelations of December 2005, which first awakened the nation to the reality that their personal privacy had been totally compromised due to wide-ranging 24/7 access by the NSA and other intelligence agencies. This news instantly bestowed upon our community from that time forward amazing credibility in Congress when complaining of government spying. It seems, however, that the New York Times is hell-bent on keeping secret one of the most important news stories of government wrongdoing in the history of our nation. Even so, we need to keep in mind that the New York Times is not the most influential media source around. With a readership of just over 1 million as of 2014, we can also note that Coast to Coast AM reaches over 3 million listeners in a week, and Alex Jones reaches 2 million in a week. If these numbers are a measure of success, then our cause is progressing quite well, since we've had positive exposure with guests such as Roger Tosas, Dr. Nick Begich, and Dr. John Hall, each making multiple appearances on these programs. The real powerhouse, though, in terms of numbers, would be a spot on one of the mainstream TV news programs for as many as 7 or 8 evening news. Positive exposure on a few of those mainstream news shows would probably make a major impact in terms of numbers of people informed of electronic harassment and the plight of targeted individuals.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Major benefits for us. Of the major networks, I only found one that used the term targeted individuals in a news story. This was in reference to Mylie May back in 2014, where NBC News described a Facebook post which, quote, showed he was interested in targeted individuals who believe they are victims of mind control and covert harassment they call gang stalking, unquote. Again, this was in reference to Mylie May in November of 2014. I found no instances of the term targeted individuals, however, among the major TV networks in reference to Gavin Long, the Baton Rouge shooter, although some of you may have if I don't have TV. Since the New York Times has initiated a negative dialogue about targeted individuals, we need to find ways to continue this discussion so that we can promote positive understanding about the suffering TIs are enduring. That is our purpose here today, and I believe we will continue to find great major opportunities for expressing our plight to the American public in the days ahead. Thank you very much.
Derek, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We have right now an issue. We're gaining exposure, but the exposure is not freeing us. More people are becoming familiar with the term electronic harassment, targeted individuals, and that's good and that's great. But that's not leading to actions that'll free us. And so there's 3 major things that's happening: suppression in the media, adherence to an executive order, which 8 federal agencies are abiding by when it comes to disclosure about weapons of mass destruction, because the technologies that are being used on us, ELF, microwaves, that classifies under weapons of mass destruction. So they're using the GLOMAR clause to exempt themselves from talking about this. And as they're exempt from talking about this, this information is redacted, information is distorted, and the public is not informed. Then you have an issue of immunity that the federal government gets from federal tort claims. And we see this right now in Detroit with the water crisis. You know, the federal government is involved or partially responsible for that. But now, you know, plaintiffs have to, you know, take their lawsuits on the local level because of the federal tort immunity. So, how do we get out of this situation?
Okay, we're working on a number of initiatives to where I believe that we can start to become free of this situation. And that basically has to do with working with our council officials. And Amy Anderson is probably poised to be the first TI in our community to really receive assistance from the city in terms of getting actual help for being targeted. She's a microwave attack victim, and she has been working with her council in terms of what should she do when she becomes under microwave attack. They are actually looking at some solutions for her, including speaking directly with her doctor, and so that he can start to prescribe a medical solution for her. This also is in conjunction with emergency procedures, say like with ambulances and police, and etc. If someone comes under serious microwave attack, what the procedures will be for that. So at this time, we are actually working with establishing, brainstorming actually with technicians to develop some protocols for police, whoever the first responders would be, in terms of determining where the signals are coming from. And according to our technicians, they are able to actually identify the house, not only the house, but the room, actually, where the equipment is located. So we're getting some very specific information from our technicians, who have been also working with the city officials to develop some protocol for helping Amy and the other TI residents in their city. So we're really at the first instances of real, tangible assistance. I would agree with you that I would like an immediate solution to the targeting as much as everyone else. The FAA and FCC, however, have the years by numerous TIs, and some of them have even gone so far as to come out to a TI's home and take measurements and even state that they would even do an investigation. The reality to that situation is that once they get back to their offices, they are not to be found again, and they're never heard from. And this investigation has never materialized to anyone's knowledge. So it's difficult for agencies to investigate other federal agencies, even Congress. So the reality is that Congress is not going to press the NSA, the FBI, or any of the others, the other agencies, for solutions or to press them to stop doing what they're doing. Basically, what they would do, the most they would do is conduct an investigation, point out what they have found to these agencies. The agencies may at best acknowledge that they had overstepped their boundaries, and they will even promise to stop. The reality is that they'll just keep doing it anyway. So as far as a solution from Congress, I don't believe there is one. There might be some publicity, but as far as making the agencies stop doing what they're doing, that's not going to happen. So this is why I'm suggesting a local solution. What I'm saying here with the locals is that it will not take that long. Basically, once a task force is set up, then it's a matter of detecting who it is that's sending a frequency, and then at some point making an arrest of that individual and prosecuting them. So whoever is sending assault signals to anyone is liable for arrest and prosecution, because felony assault or any type of assault is illegal. And that's where I believe that I believe that's where you've got to start, because once perpetrators start getting arrested for this criminal activity, once it becomes known and detected where these signals are coming from, then they are liable for arrest and prosecution.